Hello and welcome, I'm Alas Garjuk and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. The Supreme Court of Ukraine has closed the case on the abolition of Tomos, the document granting autocephaly of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. To talk more about this, we are joined in the studio today by Lyudmyla Filipovych. She is the head of Religious Studies Department at the Institute of Philosophy. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Morning.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you here in the studio. So let's start with this court drama. As I said, the Supreme Court has closed the case, but still we can clearly see that the religious organizations of the Moscow Patriarchate are trying to interfere and kind of to roll back this process of recognition of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, newly established. And the court's conclusion is that the claim does not have any signs of administrative jurisdiction. So this kind of hit was fought back. What is your take on this court processes and the religious activities? So basically, the religious organizations are trying to get the state get the state interference in the whole process.
What we need to understand, what is the most important for us, for Ukraine. Tomos is. Granted. We have got the special document which give us the autocephalic status for those Orthodox believers who for a long time did not recognize like canonical or legally believers on our territory. So I think that nobody will confiscate or change this position and this status and to take off the Tomos from Ukrainian people from Ukraine. By the way, many Orthodox churches have not such documents. Even the Moscow Patriarchate
doesn't have Tomos.
No, they have no special Tomos from Ecumenical Patriarchate.
This is interesting.
Now we could discuss who is legislative,
who is more legitimate.
Legitimate, yes, in the world. So. What is the importance of this decision? Our court stresses that nobody could change this situation, and even our new president decided to change something in religious life. He has he could not do that. He could not change something in this process because we understand that the Tomos, this is not only the intra-orthodoxal deals. This is a very, very global process connected with the intra-religious, even intra-political issue between different countries and between different states. So I think that we could be very quiet and very sure that we decided very, very important problem of our religious life. Now
so there is nothing to roll back?
No,
it is impossible.
I understand so. Now all believers, Orthodox believers in our country have the same rights from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church and from the new Orthodox Church of Ukraine. We are equal. So we could continue our religious life and we could pray, we could celebrate the different holidays, Pascha, for example, and many
Easter.
others.
So Ukrainian Orthodox Church is an equal 15th branch of the world global Orthodoxy.
We understand that Moscow is not agree with this decision, and in different way they try to change the situation.
Yeah,
for example, they forming the different fakes, maybe to pay money for those church who could stand against this decision of ecumenical patriarchate, but we do not take into account the specific of religious consciousness, of religious belief. all people, religious people, they take in their account not only the secular or ordinary deals, but they are believers, so they try to listen the voice of God. Not only the political or even religious leaders.
Because they have faith. Speaking of this Moscow influence, the District Administrative Court of Kiev has halted the procedure of renaming of churches of the Moscow Patriarchate in Ukraine temporarily. At the same time, in the end of March, the same court has refused to recognize Poroshenko's request to Bartholomew about this autocephaly of Ukrainian church illegitimate. So basically, the same court has had the decision officially recognizing that Poroshenko's request was legitimate. On the other hand, the same court is halting the procedure of renaming the churches of the Moscow Patriarchate. What can you see behind this? And what is your take on this decision about the renaming of the churches of Moscow Patriarchate?
This is not the decision of Poroshenko or even Ministry of Culture, in particular the Department of Nationalities and Religious Affairs. This is the decision of Verkhovna Rada.
To rename?
To rename, yes. They decided to begin this procedure because they understand the situation, nowadays situation. If we think about the peaceful time, we understand that this decision could be recognized like unlegitimate. But in the situation when we fight against Russia, and this is not a civil war, this is the real war, one state against another state. I think that our state could defend the rights of their believers, and not only could, but this is a duty to support and to defend the Ukrainian citizens.
The Ukrainian believers. And Ukrainian believers should understand, should distinguish one church from another.
Yes, you are right.
The Ukrainian Orthodox Church.
I think that we are not ready, but we need to recognize that we will have two churches of two jurisdictional dependence from Ecumenical Patriarchate and from Moscow Patriarchate. It's not the extreme situation for Ukraine. I know the historical cases when, for example, on the one territory we have the three jurisdictions for the one Orthodox churches, and it's not maybe ordinary for the national state, but it's very normal for the modern type of states. Now we have the situation when religious life will only pluralized, and maybe in future we have not only one Orthodox Church, but even more than two or three.
Mm-hmm. Well, the explanation of the court about this decision was the fact that, well, the statement, this prevents the state from roughly interfering in religious activities, which basically having the lawsuit in the court is already states interfering in the religious activities. But let's continue. The newly established Orthodox Church of Ukraine has reacted on this court decision. Archbishop Yevstratiy Zorya has commented that none of the courts is able to make the Moscow Patriarchate not Moscow. And speaking of Moscow Patriarchate, just recently militants in the occupied part of Donetsk region have seized the Church of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church with the intention to transfer it to the Moscow Patriarchate. This happened in the village of Kuznetsovo-Telmansky district. And this is according to the head of the Donetsk Diocese of the Orthodox Church of Ukraine. He says that there is a lot of intimidation in that village, in the area, on the occupied territories, that the authorities are intimidating people not to go to the Ukrainian churches, to visit the premises of the Ukrainian churches, and well, we clearly see that now they are confiscating the temples.
We see the differences between Russia and between Ukrainian, how these two states attitude to their believers. And we live according to our law on religious consciousness and religious organization, but Russia established their own law on the territory, occupied territory of so-called republics, Donetsk and Lugansk. And we see that the believers, they feel the threats from the different other concurrent churches, because there are only one church, Moscow Patriarchate, and only this church have all rights to decide which church will exist with them or not. And it concerns not only Orthodox Church, but they decided that no Greek Catholic or even some Protestant church could not exist on this territory.
Well, yeah, but such an aggressive approach has nothing to deal with God, I think. If we are speaking about the recognition of the newly established Ukrainian Orthodox Church, what results do we have right now? What achievements?
We understand that recognition of a new church is not one-time act or one-time sign of all the leaders of Orthodox Church during some meetings or council and so on. This is a process. And we understand that this process connected with a number of intra-Orthodox and inter-religious and even political issues. So the process will begin. And we estimate, maybe we estimate, but there are no real condition for this estimation to have in one moment the recognition from all Orthodox churches.
Do we have any countries already that have already recognized the Ukrainian Orthodox Church?
Not yet, because the discussion is continuing, but we see that even those who did not come to the Crete Council in 16 years, I mean Georgian or Bulgarian Orthodox Church, they have their own process to recognition of Ukrainian Church. And what is the most important for us? They discuss not our right to have the autocephalic status, but the way in which we could get this right. So now we see that maybe they do not recognize our church, but they demonstrate their support of ecumenical patriarch.
Yeah, they have to obey to the ecumenical patriarch. Yes. The last thing to ask very briefly, because we are running out of time. What about Greek Church? Because Greek Church has invited the Ecumenical Patriarch Bartholomew to visit Athens on the 23rd of May with the aim to discuss the restoring of their relations, because there were some tensions. It is expected that this time the question of the recognition of the Ukrainian Church will be on the agenda, because we know that previously the Archbishop Hieronym took it out of the agenda. What is your forecast? How do you foresee, will this Ukrainian question really be on the agenda, and can we expect that the Greek Church could be potentially the first one to recognize?
Yes, you're right. I think that the Greek Church could be the first who recognize our church, and then maybe Georgian, Romanian, because you know that Romanian has its own interests on the territory of our country. country.
Yes.
You know about the parishes of Romanian people. So we need to discuss. We need to have a different kind of communication, diplomatic, political, interreligious, and many others. So.
Yes, and another sign that we can expect some good outcomes of this meeting is that in his response to the Archbishop Ieronim, Bartholomew emphasized on his gratitude and appreciation that the invitation was delivered by the representative of the actual Greek Church instead of the post office. Well, thank you so much for your clear comments, for clearing this issue out for us, and thank you for being a guest today in our studio.
Thank you.
That was Lyudmyla Filipovych. She's the head of Religious Studies Department at the Institute of Philosophy. Thank you for watching Head to Head. I'm Oles Garduk. Goodbye.